Good evening. I like Andrew, we're one of the new kids on the block. I think also, in terms of the energy and environmental sector and clean tech, I know people have said, do you know anybody with sort of 10, 15 plus years experience? This is what I'm looking for. I've been in this game for 10 years, and I'm considered one of the granddaddies in sort of clean tech and energy environment. It's still quite one of those new and emerging sectors, and it's still evolving. I think that's one of the key challenges for this fund, is understanding the various types of technology, businesses, routes to market, and what translating that, and what makes it work for us as a fund. And really what we're trying to do is us bring in co-investors. So I think I was asked to do something very simple. Who am I? What am I looking for? And what have I done in the past? So hopefully that'll be a quick run through that. Simplicity. The two people you'll see around quite a lot at the moment, those ugly mugs in the corner, myself and my colleague Malcolm King. We are building a team with a new operations administrator joining on Monday, a lady called Lindsay Barnes from AFM, and hopefully in the next few weeks announce another fund manager. As I said, I've been in this game really for the last 10 years, managing one of our other funds through an organisation called the Carbon Trust. That is a 46 million fund. We made investments into 25 businesses, which over that period you don't think is a huge number. Set into context, we also have the largest clean tech fund in terms of number of portfolio companies in Europe. And the first half year sort of shows how depressed the market is. When we were the most active investor globally, we can beat Clive Perkins in terms of number of deals. I think the other thing is, because we have our sort of sister organisation, the Carbon Trust, that has a large number of sort of technology and market expertise, the one thing we bring when assessing your business very quickly is a hands-on, direct market expertise. That we don't need a sort of army of consultants and advisors to understand your business and your market. We know it very well. And a lot of things that put sort of investors off in this market is they tend to be regulatory driven. I'd like to think I know the regulation quite well. Because the Carbon Trust Fund is another publicly backed fund through the Department of Energy and Climate Change, and I get involved in policy decisions as well, through the Energy White Paper, the Energy Efficiency White Paper, the Green Investment Bank. I've given up how many policy debates I've been involved in and actually written policy. So we do actually understand the challenges of the markets which are regulatory driven. We do have an office up here. We are another interloper. We now have an office in association with Envirolink in Warrington. I think we decided to put ourselves midway in between, so we're not Manchester or Liverpool, and we can get up to Lancaster quite quickly. So what have I done in the past? I think it shows us quite a wide spectrum of types of companies. I think of interest into this audience, because most people think energy and environmental, clean tech, clean energy are big, large, heavy engineering businesses. Two I'd like to draw your attention to. One would be Ariso, which is dynamic software mapping for mobile base stations. The large base station operators are actually quite difficult to understand where their base stations are, how efficient they are, where there's dead spots, where there are hot spots. And the best way to do that at the moment is driving a white van around city streets to work it out. What this software does actually is dynamically maps the signals and the strengths and the weaknesses, so they can actively plan where they need to put infill stations. Because at the moment, all they do is quite simply turn up the power, turn up the output, which actually doesn't always solve the problem, it creates interference. So by turning down the power, using smaller infills, you're actually saving a large amount of energy and a large amount of sort of operational maintenance costs. Another company, Intermac, it's sort of the software interface between the sort of smart meter, smart home display and the big utility companies. It's device agnostic. It just uses quite honestly, the cheapest, most effective technology, the in-house display, and it's the sort of the white layer between this sort of your Scottish Power, who they act for, and the home customer. So it's not all about heavy engineering, but certainly we do have heavy engineering. I think you look at marine current turbines and plumbers to marine device developers. Those are businesses that took sort of £10 million to put a device in the water to float or sink, quite frankly. Like the others, we've co-invested a lot, and I think with the sector that tends to be very capital intensive, we need to find the right co-investors early on. And it comes from a broad spectrum, from the corporates, so Siemens, GE, Hydro. They're actually very active at the moment in your early stage pre-revenue businesses, through to your more generalist and specialist VCs who at the moment are moving more to your sort of revenue generating, ideally close to profitable. So it's how do you match the investor to the company, and that's what we spend a lot of our time doing. And they're not all based in the UK. I've got Germany, I've got Switzerland, I've got France, I've got America. So we're trying to bring that sort of global network to businesses in the region. So what sort of technologies? I mean, energy and environmental clean tech, it's quite a broad definition. So you just try and put a VC overlay of large markets and rapid growth. And at the moment, most of that tends to be in renewables, but also energy efficiency. That's transport, that's building products. A bit difficult in a listed building. I could point out how bad this building is, but I won't. But it's like air conditioning, which I think we're all suffering from, lighting. These are plasma flat panel screens, which is probably the worst from an energy point of view you could have. But the Apple Mac in front of me, or is it an Apple Mac? Yes, an Apple Mac in front of me is very energy efficient, one of the best you can get. But it's more than just that. Manufacturing, large chemical companies, industrial processes are also seeing energy as one of the biggest cost items there. A company where energy is most probably 5% of their cost base actually shows up on somebody's DCF calculation nowadays. Other areas more grey, which is maybe either not as rapid growth but large markets, or rapid growth but more smaller markets. So you're looking at waste management, water and waste treatment on the sort of, maybe not as rapid growth but still global markets, or more local markets but massive growth at the moment around the sort of supply chain infrastructure, environmental consultancies with the mandation of the carbon reduction company. Corporates are now going from it's a nice to have to, if you don't report on your carbon emissions, quite frankly, technically you can go to jail. So they've suddenly woken up that they actually need to do something. It's no longer an option. But this is about trying to build a fund that covers the entire of the Northwest. And yes, we are looking at technology businesses with global IP, but quite frankly, with what's in the region, I would spend all my time between Liverpool and Manchester and go nowhere else. So we thought, well, how do we create a fund that can cover the whole of the Northwest? Well, the second area is around the supply chain and consultancy services. So we're looking at businesses in the installation of offshore renewables, consultancy and advisory, in the whole supply chain, how do you get fuel from A to B? But that would be great, that would be your main sort of towns and cities in the region, but there's still this swathe in between called Cumbria, which is quite green. And what we're seeing quite a lot of interest at the moment are sort of small-scale renewable projects and sort of social housing with either a strong energy efficiency or renewable scheme. And in the current market, with the banks only really providing sort of 60 to 20% equity, where does that sort of debt, where does that 20 to 40% of equity come from? 1 minute. Slan, I think we still have the broad investment criteria like everybody else, but realistically in a capital-intensive world, what on average will we do? It'll tend to be in the sort of 250k to 1.2 million round, with sort of deal sizes between 400 to 5 million. I think we recognise as capital-intensive, we'll try and bring a syndicate of co-investors on as early as we can. We can do it by ourselves, and use our networks to do that, because we're finding at the moment in this sort of market, it's taking sort of 6 to 9 months to bring syndicates together. And we want to avoid this sort of perpetual motion of fundraising. It just distracts management teams. This is where we are. Proudest case study based in Runcorn, ACAL Energy. We invested when there was just 5 people, and it was mainly technology businesses with a great idea. We've grown it to, it's now at 28 staff, and we brought on board Solvay, Sumitomo, and a Japanese automotive company that wasn't the price. I'm not allowed to say who it is. And we've also introduced non-executive directors from GM, and now GM are actively interested in taking this business into their global market base. So that's what we can do. 20 seconds? Yes. Another one, sort of passive cooling. It's base stations like a little mini data centre, usually large air conditioning, wide blast cold air when you actually take hot air out. Again, that was a company that had a trial with Vodafone, one site in Loughborough. Through our contacts with the Carbon Trust, we knew Vodafone for the last 4 years. Due diligence was easy. I got straight through to the head of technology in Germany. They're now rolling out across the entire of the UK. Vodafone Egypt, T-Mobile Poland, T-Mobile Germany, and now in China. That's what we can take these businesses to do, and that's what we're aiming to do in the Northwest. That's who I am.
Thank you very much, Adam.